Hello everyone, this is Maureen and welcome to my crochet story, where I share with you two things that I love, teaching and crochet. Today I'm going to share with you how I designed my pattern for the summer swimsuit cover-up that I will be releasing the tutorial here in just a couple of days. But before I start that, let me say thank you so much to all of you for being here. I greatly appreciate the time that you have taken to watch this video and all of my videos, especially for those of you that have been subscribed to my channel. Now, if you're new here and you've not been here before, please take just a moment to go and look at all my other content. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and then look for the bell with the little hugs on the side that lets you know every time I upload some content, not comments. Alright, so as I said, today I'm going to show you how I designed my swimsuit cover-up pattern, and that you can then take this design, my little template, and adjust it for whatever size you want to use it for. I mean, it just consists of two geometric figures, a trapezoid, which is the bottom part, and a rectangle. So give me just a moment to turn my camera around. I'll show you what I've already designed as far as the template is concerned for the cover-up that I will be doing the tutorial for, and then I will show you how to get it started just for the basics and then turn you loose and let you design your own from there. So give me just a minute. Alright, now as you can see, this pattern is built for an adult small, and all I needed basically were the bust, the waist, and the hip measurements. Because this is just going to be a top, those were the only three measurements really that I needed, but in actuality all I needed was the bust and the hip measurement. So as you can see, as I said, you're going to use a rectangle and then a trapezoid to do the design. Now I chose the trapezoid because it allows for us to do just a little bit of increasing as it goes out, to flare out just a little bit, to give it a little bit more movement, and it's not, you know, form-fitting, because you don't want a cover-up to be form-fitting. Now you're going to see in my design a little bit later on that I did use just double crochets and then what we call the ladder stitch in between here, but you can use any stitch that you want to. I chose to do a little bit more of a solid top here, and then I just used a lot of open stitches down for the bottom. But let's talk about how we came up with the measurements. So the first thing I did whenever I drew my rectangle here, I knew that the top was just going to be very, very plain and simple. So this portion here is going to be built from the bottom up to the shoulders, and then we'll do a little bit of neck opening here, and then we'll go back around the back. The front and the back are made exactly the same, except that it's all one piece. And then later we'll come in, so measure in so far to mark the armpit area, and then we'll seam this up, and then we'll just come on down and make our front and back panels for the skirt part. So what I first did on my rectangle when I drew it was I marked out where the waist bust measurement is, and we're going to take that and divide it by 2, because you don't want 32 inches all the way across here. So if we divide it by 2, that's evenly distributed between the back and the front. And this little top here is going to hit right at, or maybe just a ½ inch below, maybe an inch, it kind of depends, the widest part of the breast area. So if the breast area is measuring 32 inches, this is going to come right there at the peak or just down below a little bit. And then the back part of it will come just about where your, you know, the back portion of your natural bra would hook. And then we only need about 6 inches for the sleeves here. Now this 6 inches is measuring out from underneath, and I did allowed to keep this kind of boxy because whenever it falls off the shoulders, we don't want a long sleeve. We just want a little bit of a cap to protect those shoulders when you're sitting outside, like on a lawn chair, or you've just gotten out of the water. And we know how sun can really focus in on where that moisture is on our skin and just kind of sunburn it a little bit quicker. But anyway, let's see. And then we have our neck opening here. Now this neck, you might think that's a little wide, but it's not, because remember, you got to have this neck opening here go over your head. So I am assuming with an adult small that they're probably at about a 19 to 20 inch. So if we make this 10 inches there across, that gives it plenty of room for them to get the little cover up over their head. And then it still gives a nice little wide band here for our shoulders. Let's see. Nice wide opening here for around their arms, because you don't want that tight either. And then, as I said, we'll just do some increases along out, and then you can make this as long or as short as you want. This one is going to hit just about, I think mid-thigh is what I measured for her. This is for a young girl that I'm making it for, or that I made it for, excuse me. And so let's come over here and let me show you where I came up with all these different measurements here, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. Alright, so I have gone ahead, and as I told you, we're going to work with just two different geometric figures. The top is going to be represented by the rectangle, and then from just underneath the breast and down, we're going to use the trapezoid to represent our little skirt area. Now, since this one was built using the adult small, I thought that we would use this one to look at some measurements for an adult medium. Now this is for one that has typically the 36-inch bust, a 28-inch waist, and a 38-inch hip. Now for my pattern choice that I used, you're going to need a multiple of 3 plus 2, and we're going to use a size J hook. Now my inches here are determined by what I use as my gauge. Now I know that for myself I can use 3 double crochets that represent an inch going horizontal, and that same double crochet height wise represents half of an inch. So I'm going to come down here and just remind myself that for me 3 double crochets equal 1 inch. And as I said, that's a horizontal measurement, and that 1 double crochet equals half an inch for the height. And that kind of gave me a little bit of a gauge on paper what my inches were going to need to be. Okay, now since all of this really centers around the bust area, the first thing I'm going to do is mark off my bust measurement here. And since this is for someone with a 36-inch bust, that means that I'm going to take the measurements here, and I'm going to take the bust measurement of 36 divided by 2, and that means it has to be 18 inches. So from here to here, this is going to be 18 inches. Alright, now remember, although this is flat, if you were to be able to pick it up off of here, make it a 3D figure, you know, circle around, this is going to be representing actually a circle, just like whenever we measure ourselves. Alright, now when I'm designing, I try to do things in blocks just as much as possible. So that means if I were to go straight up, and this would be from underneath your armpits, if you were to go straight up, you would come just inside your shoulder bones, right up at the top of your shoulder, or where those pieces are. So if we're just going to guess, let's see, this is what? Let's just say that this right here is the middle. So right along in here, again, I'm going to measure this to be about 10 inches. And I like for my shoulder width here to be about 3. So that tells me then that from here to here, that's going to be 16 inches. Alright, now my sleeves underneath, that's from going from the armpit out, are going to be 6 inches. Because that's a very nice length. I don't care how big you are, just enough to give you a little bit of cap off the shoulder there. So that means then this total length here is going to measure, let me come up here and mark this here as well. Alright, and so let's see, that's going to make this a total length here. Total length here of 18, 12, 30 inches. Alright, now I'm sure you're wondering, how did I come up with this length here, or how do I know how wide this is going to be? Well, whenever you're looking at your armpit area, which is from right here to your sleeve, I just remember from whenever I took sewing classes way back in junior high, and when we were just doing our own free-form patterns, our home ec teacher always said, if you'll take whatever your sleeve length is from under your armpit out to just about whatever length is for your shoulder, out to your, I'll get it right here in a minute, your elbow, there you go. Divide that in half. That is a very nice gauge as to how much flare you want your skirt to have, especially when it gets around in your hip area. So if I take this 6 inches and divide it in half, that means I'm going to add 3 inches here to give me that nice pretty flare that I want right at about my hips. So that means then this 18 inches plus 6 here, is that right? Yes, 3 and 18, that's 6, will give us a 24-inch flare, which 24 and 24 is 48, so look at that, the hip measurement is 38. Be nice, nice, nice. Alright, now I know, as I said, my gauge is going to be 3 double crochet, excuse me, one double crochet equals a ½ inch, and I'm going to want this here to be about 10 inches, and that's for measuring from the top of the shoulder to just a little, like I said, about an inch past the crest of the breast measurement. And for me, that was 10 inches because that's a measurement that's not on normal crochet charts. And so I use that off of my own self. So that's, you know, that might, if you were lucky enough to have the person that you're going to make this for standing right there in front of you, it might differ just a little bit, but I like to err on the side of caution, and so I like to make it just a little bit bigger. So that's why I came up with the number of 10 inches. So that's going to give us a really, really nice arm opening here because, you know, again, you're talking about a swimsuit cover up. You don't want it to fit you like a t-shirt. You want it to be nice and open and flowing, and so this will give plenty of room for that. So that's how I came up with my measurements. I am so sorry, y'all. There was a dog that walked by the window, and of course that just sets Lacey off because she thinks the whole yard out there belongs to her. But again, I guess the biggest takeaway I can tell you is if you wish to adjust this pattern for yourself or for someone else, just make sure really that you have the bust size and the waist size, and start from building here. Now, you may not want these sleeves from underneath your arm out as long as I do. You can always adjust this just a little bit. I would keep it, though, in a rectangular pattern because it really falls off the shoulders nicely. You can, obviously, just leave it off and make it, not even have any caps at all there. And it holds up well to just really any stitch that you would want to fit in there. Now, in the design, I will show you, or in the tutorial, excuse me, I will show you how we address the neck opening here so that we have a nice space there for it slipping over our heads. But yeah, that's how my little swimsuit cover up is designed for you, and I hope that it helps you in if you choose to make this design larger or smaller. One other thing I did want to mention, I'm sorry I wasn't quite finished yet, is you might want to chain about 20 chains and then do a row of double crochets or maybe 2 rows of double crochets and gauge for yourself, because we all do crochet a little bit differently, some of us tighter than others. Check to see, because this is done in a multiple of 3s. See if your 3 double crochets measure. Now, don't stretch. Just after you've done your little swatch there, just lay it down. Let it kind of settle down a little bit. See what 3 double crochets measure. Should measure somewhere around 1 inch. And then check the height of your double crochet. Is it somewhere close to 1/2 inch? Then you're well on your way to being able to use your measurements and know how much to do your starting chain out, which we'll discuss in the tutorial, and the height, how many rows you want, all that kind of stuff. And as I said, it'll be excuse me, discussed more in the tutorial itself once we start putting our yarn to our hook. So I hope this has been a little bit of help for you. I didn't want to attach this to the tutorial itself because I knew it was going to make it long, and it's going to be long already. So just wanted to give you an idea behind my little thinking cap is when I was designing this, how I came up with it. And I wanted to share it with you because, as I said, I really think that it's very, very customizable to whatever size you want to make, from a child all the way up to a large adult. So, until the tutorial, be safe out there, be kind to one another, and as always, be the light out there in the darkness for someone today, because you never know, could be your light they're waiting to see. I love you all. Thanks for being here. Bye.